So
Tell me about those.
I had to think about it. Some of them are realtors that I've been had Danielle, my freedom caller,
Hmm.
set up appointments. Some of it I did on my own.
Okay.
Folks that I met through other folks, that kind of stuff. So
Okay.
um, so it's starting to gain a little traction.
Can you differentiate for me why some realtors are attracted to you and some aren't?
Um, I don't know. It's hard to say. I mean, I've got some that I thought I would be getting some business from by now and haven't been, and then others, that I am getting business from. I just think probably they listen to what I had to say and willing to take a chance, give me a shot, and receptive to new sources.
Okay. Tell me what you think the difference is between the agents that you got to work with you versus the agents that haven't worked with you yet.
Probably some a little more successful than others, quite honestly.
Okay. What do you mean? Do you mean the ones that are successful are the ones that are referring you, or the ones that aren't successful are the ones that are referring you?
The ones that aren't as successful maybe are the ones that are referring me.
So you think that the quality of agent that is either younger or not as successful are really working with you because of something you've done or said to them?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. That's an
Yeah.
interesting perspective, don't you think?
Oh, yeah.
Why do you
Yep.
think that is?
I just think other folks are, the folks that are, they're closing, several well, not several, but a lot of transactions per month. They're content with, with the folks that they use or go to, and those folks haven't screwed up bad enough for them to consider other folks.
Okay. Okay.
I think it's a trust issue. It's kind of like, you like the doctor you go to, you don't really want to change. You know what I'm saying?
Of course. And that's loyalty, and that's what we all strive for, right?
Oh
We all
yeah,
want that in our
absolutely.
business. Okay.
Right.
So what do you think it is about you with the younger agents that works really, really well?
Just willingness to give them ideas, leverage my, years of experience both in this business and outside this business to try to help them be successful.
Okay.
Just with ideas in terms of marketing, you know, basically conveying to them that I'm willing to, partner with them on certain situations or do things to try to help them build a pipeline or increase their pipeline.
Okay. Okay. Interesting. Do you prefer to work with newer agents? I mean, are you okay
No,
with
no, I
those
mean,
type of persons?
I'm okay with working with them. I mean, some of them can be, can be a little more demanding than others, only because they're either not sure or confident or don't know enough yet. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Yep,
Um,
totally get it.
but I'm also not willing to work with the ones that are just kind of, excuse my French, half-ass in terms of the way they
Yep.
go after their business, and they're gonna, become the time vampires of my time. I'm not gonna let that happen.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
So,
So what does that mean to you when you decide that you want your freedom caller to pick up the phone and start talking to agents? Do you give her a demographic, not really a demographic, do you give her a qualified list of the agents that you want to work with? I mean,
yeah,
do you seek out the newer agents because it seems like you're having a greater success with them?
well, no, I don't necessarily seek out the newer agents. Actually, the list. A couple of these agents have come by referrals from either folks I know or just based on a client. Like, give you an example, one referral client or agent came because I had a client who I sent to an agent, referral, agent of mine. She dropped the ball. The client went with this agent, and so because of the transaction, I met her and I've, gained her trust, and she's, starting to use me. And then the other situations are, friends that had agents in the business that I, leveraged their relationship and said, hey, would you either introduce me or what have you, which they've done that as well. But to answer your question, as far as my Freedom Caller goes, what I did is I had a broker owner pull the top 100 agents in 4 surrounding counties from MLS based on transaction volume. And
Okay.
And then what I did is I went and I researched the first, 50 or so, in terms of who they work for, what kind of business they're doing, that sort of stuff. Got all their contact information, and then handed that to my Freedom Caller to start making calls.
So do you think that it makes sense to go after the realtors that are producing the highest amount of volume when what you described for me is that you have a better success rate working with agents that are newer, that are full-time but newer, that are trying to figure out how to do this and kind of gravitate towards you because you possess maybe that leadership quality that they're seeking in a partner?
Well, I think it makes sense to go after both. I mean, because I think that, it just so happens that, well, and I have to be fair. I mean, of 4 of the referral partners that I actually got a meeting, or potential referral partners I got a meeting with, that are top producers. I mean, they gave me, they were open enough to let me meet them, have a conversation with them, try to build a relationship. So I've had an initial meeting. I've had additional follow-up calls. I've sent handwritten notes. I continue to do. I've got, I need to make calls this week to them. And, so I think it's just a matter of the consistency and time that either they'll, one of 2 things, they'll just completely ignore me, or they'll give me a shot and say, hey, maybe, since he's persistent, seems like he knows what he's doing and can deliver, then maybe I need to give him an opportunity and see, and just kind of grow it from there.
So you're willing to bet your financial path on whether or not somebody decides that they're willing to give you a shot? Okay.
No, I'm not. No, that from a financial perspective, no. I mean,
okay.
I'm going to pursue them just because some of them I like. I mean, we have a lot of, a lot of commonalities and that sort of stuff. So, but am I willing to base my financial standpoint from that? No, not necessarily.
Okay. So are you using the Thor's Hammer process?
No. I mean, you and I have had that conversation. I just have a real problem with the scripts and, the transactional aspect of it. The only aspect that I'm really using right now is leveraging somebody else to make the calls, twice a week for me, 2 folks to try to set those appointments. And then once they've either made contact, I've talked to them or met with them, then basically I just kind of take it from there and, try to stay in touch with them via phone, email, or some other method, handwritten note, whatever the case may be.
Do you find it's hard to follow up after the 3rd, 4th, 5th? I mean, do you find it difficult to pick up the phone and call these people after the 4th or 5th time?
I would say yes. Just I find it difficult to pick up the phone the 2nd time or 3rd time, just trying to figure out what am I going to say. I mean, and you and I have kind of had that conversation,
And so let me ask you, so what did you take away from our conversations that makes it easier for you to call the 2nd, 3rd, and subsequent times?
Basically calling without a I guess a one-sided transactional kind of conversation. Hey, You got anyone? I mean, I don't get me wrong. I drop the, I ask for the business. I mean, in a
Sure.
slight way when I do talk to them, but I'm not, my primary objective is to call and just to kind of further the relationship as opposed to, hey, what have you got for me? Can I have a deal, and then move on.
So let's explore that a little bit more, because I love where you're headed with it, but I think we can make it a little bit more deliberate. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So when you call up an agent the second time, you've already had a meeting face-to-face or no?
Not necessarily.
Okay. So let's break them into two categories. Let's break it into the people you're dripping on versus the people that you're following up with. There's two different types, right?
Sure. Yes.
Okay. So where would you rather start this conversation? The dripping ones or the ones that you've already met with and you're doing follow-up?
The ones I've met with and doing follow-up.
Okay, perfect. So let's go back to the initial conversation when you really outline your value, your unique value that puts you into this position. Remember, we had talked last time about the whole reciprocity mindset? Right. And the whole reciprocity mindset is centered around doing one thing and one thing only, right? What is it?
Basically, becoming referable.
Okay.
Making yourself referable.
Yep, and the way to do that is by being helpful, by helping others without expecting anything in return.
Exactly.
Meaning you genuinely care about helping other people because that's what you believe is your path, okay? Right. Now, there's always an ask that we can place in there, but you've got to understand the psychology behind the way that this is kind of designed. What you're really doing is you're picking up the phone with somebody you followed up with, and if you've left the initial appointment with a very clear understanding that you communicated to them that their greatest value with you is the fact that you amplify the relationship. Meaning you amplify the relationship with them by making them look really, really good. You amplify the relationship by willing to help out whenever they need it. If there's something they're having a struggle with, if there's a challenge in their business, if they're having a struggle getting an answer on a loan from another lender, you making yourself available to them is where the consistency really starts to pay off. But the consistency doesn't mean you consistently call them up and badger them. You call them up consistently, putting yourself in a position to be of value to them by offering up your knowledge, your expertise, your personality, your value, your belief that you are a relationship amplifier. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
In that mindset, you're free to enter into any kind of casual or professional conversation. That's the secret to this entire process, is that when you tell yourself, I'm picking up the phone to call Bobby, I'm not calling up Bobby because I'm trying to help him do something specific. I'm calling up Bobby because I feel like he's better if he and I have a chance to talk, because I'm the person that's going to help him in some way, shape, or form today. He doesn't know what it is yet, and I don't even know what it is yet, but because I care, I'm going to pick up the phone and say, hey, Bobby, what's going on today, brother? You know what, I was thinking about you this morning, and I was thinking about our conversation last week, and I really enjoyed it. And, I thought to myself that I have some downtime right now, and I felt like I wanted to pick up the phone and say, what's going on in your world today, Bobby? Is there something going on today that you're struggling with? I mean, let's be real with each other. The real estate business sucks sometimes. And I just want you to know that I care enough about you that you don't have to feel like you got to do this alone. I've been doing this for a while. And if there's a challenge that you're having with a lender, if there's a challenge you're having with a client, if there's a challenge that you're having with designing a business model or some way to get new business, man, I'd love to talk to you about it.
Yeah, I mean, that,
how does that resonate with you? How does that feel when I call and say those things to you?
Well, like you said, I mean, you're conveying an amplifying type, you're calling, because you care and you want to help. I mean, that's at the bottom.
End of story. End of story. And if your mission on the initial appointment when you meet them face-to-face is to basically get them to see that. Remember we talked about framing yourself in a certain light? Remember we talked about how you position yourself in such a way that they get to see you for who you are, not what you do. They see you for who you are and why you do it, not what you do.
Right.
And so when you pick up the telephone, you can automatically go into that mindset and go into that style of conversation. You know what it is? It's not off-putting. It's not, people are not repelled by it. They're attracted to it. Because everybody wants to feel wanted. Everybody wants to feel like somebody cares. And when you pick up the phone and you have that conversation with them, even if it's in a voicemail, you're being put into a position where you're being framed the way that you want to be framed. Now, here's the beautiful part about this. When you understand that your initial consultation is the foundation in which your future conversations are going to be based on, then all you need to worry about is making sure this person sees you for the value that you bring. And if that's all you talk about, it leaves so much more to discuss in your future conversations. The beauty of the follow-up is that you get to expand very generically on how you can help them. Because Bobby, and I don't know this, but I'm going to make an assumption. I would bet that you're probably a pretty smart, well-rounded, and very educated person. That if somebody poses a question to you that you don't have the answer to, I'm willing to bet you that you not only have the resources to find the answer, but probably have the inclination to want to do it at the highest level. Is that fair?
Yes, that's fair.
I mean, you probably care more than most. I mean, I'm sure you would say that to anybody, but in my heart of hearts, I think you're the kind of person that if somebody asked you for help, I think you would probably drop everything and go and help them. Is that fair? Especially if you like them, right?
Right. Yes.
So if that's truly who you are, and that's what you've laid out as the path when you meet somebody for the first time, the subsequent follow-up calls can sound just like this every time. Except the conversations can morph into more specifics based on how much vulnerability they're willing to provide you.
Right.
And here's the beauty of it. And here's the beauty of it. What you said at the beginning of this is the part that I'm trying to get kind of really clear on with you. You ask in a roundabout way. Remember you said that? You said you always ask for the business in a roundabout way?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Repeat after me. There is a wrong time and a right time to ask for business. I need you to repeat that to me.
There is a wrong time and a right time to ask for the business.
When do you think the wrong time is?
When I've made a call, asked if they needed help, they convey that they do, and at that point, basically the call should be, or my action item would be to do whatever I can do at that point in time, regardless of whether I get business from them or not. So not asking that time frame as opposed to just casual conversation, not much going on, and then maybe drop the message then.
The only time you need to ask for business is when they offer it up. And let me say that really clearly differently.
Okay.
You need to ask for a business when they've acknowledged your efforts. See, when somebody opens the door for you, you want to say thank you.
Right.
If you don't open the door for you, if you don't open the door for them, they're probably not going to say thank you. But the moment you open the door for them and provide them with some layer of service, some layer of help, some layer of value, and they acknowledge you, that's the point in which your originator hat comes on and says, you know what, Bobby? Thank you. Thank you for knowing. And this is just a small example of how I care about my business. I know that it's not earth-shattering, but it really is what I thrive on. And my goal whenever you refer me a client is to provide them with such a great level of service that they're thrilled and they say thank you. And I promise, like I said before, my mission is to get them to come back to you and say thank you. That's really how I amplify relationships, is because I take the value of what you and I have started and I make it my #1 priority. Whenever you run into a scenario with a client that you want to see how good it'll feel to have your relationship amplified, I would love to work with that person. Who's the next person you know who you and I could partner with? That conversation, and in that order, will never, ever, ever get old.
Right.
It will never get old, and you want to know why? Because it's not self-serving. Our reluctancy to call people is because we wrestle with the idea of, I got to make the call, otherwise I'm not going to get a loan, but I'm calling somebody who I'm asking something from before you've given any value.
Right.
That's the secret in this whole thing. That's why the initial consultation is so vitally important. When you get that initial presentation time, that's your chance to really lay the foundation for why they're going to want to talk to you every week. They're not going to want to talk to you every week because you know product and program. So
True.
when you talk about when you're talking to them in their face-to-face meeting, you should not talk about mortgages at all. By default,
Well, that's
you're
good because I'm not doing it.
and I commend you for that, because what you're doing is you're getting people again to see you for why you do things. The follow-up calls, if what you did the other day with that broker was really what you said to me, your follow-up call to the broker would be, hey, Mr. Broker, I was just thinking about you today. I really enjoyed meeting with you. It's hard to find people that share similar views in this industry, and I'm just thankful that I had a chance to meet with you, and I appreciate you taking the time. You remember how I said in that meeting that I believe that I'm a relationship amplifier, and I know that's kind of a goofy or corny term, but yeah. I really meant it. And part of what I'd love to do is just finding ways to help people, because I believe in a lot of respects being a connector like I am. I always plug into things and learn as much as I can, and I'm willing to bet you that there's probably something in your business today or from yesterday that either you're scratching your head on, or there's something that you're interested in doing. Man, if I could help out with that, I may or may not be able to add any value, but I sure would like a chance to talk to you about it if you have the time. That's it. That really is the voicemail, or that's the conversation, and you do it in your own style. But the outline is, it's a call. It's a I was thinking about you, which makes everybody feel good, and then it's a I really meant what I said. I'm really not looking for you to give me business. That's not why I'm calling you. I'm calling to see if I can help out with anything. And the moment in which they acknowledge that and they say thank you is your chance to redirect them back to, I appreciate you saying that, my friend. I really work hard at getting my clients to acknowledge what we do, because I think a lot of what we do, Bobby, goes unrecognized. And for being in the business as long as you have, you know how hard it is to close loans and get transactions done. I just honestly believe that when you find a great partnership and you work well together, I think that the volume of business that you create together can really last a lifetime. I'm just looking for a chance to try to amplify your relationship with one client. Who's the next person you know that I might be able to help amplify with? And that comes on the heels of them acknowledging the help and offer that you give them.
Right.
Do you see where when they acknowledge your effort, and it's not, hey, thanks for calling, but I don't need your assistance. See, if you're getting that kind of a pushback, it's because you didn't set the stage clearly enough or genuinely enough when you met them the first time. And it may take several more conversations or several more calls for that to take place.
And but see, that's where I think I'm at on a couple of them.
Yeah.
Because I had those meetings, conversations, whatever. Prior
before or after we had our initial conversation.
Oh, this was before. There were 3 or 4 well before you and I started having conversations, and then I had the one that I mentioned to you that I was headed to that day, which was after our first meeting. So, so that's kind of where I'm at on those. Hey, let me ask you this, and kind of switching gears maybe just a little bit, but
sure.
I've got Danielle, who Kenneth provides to us to to make the calls or whatever. I'll be honest with you, I've not heard her script, if you will, and I don't even, I don't know. I'm assuming maybe she's made so many calls now she doesn't use much of one, but at least the high points, I guess, she probably still pushes on. So I'm just curious, whether it makes sense for her to make those calls or me to make those calls, and if you come back to me and say I think it makes sense maybe for you to make them or take a portion of them or whatever. If I'm going to do that, kind of how do you, or what's your recommendation for establishing that value as much as you can in the first 2 minutes you might have them on the phone? Assuming you can get them on the phone.
Yep. I'm going to side on you should let your freedom caller make the calls.
Okay.
Okay. I would also say that you should talk to your freedom caller about what she says.
Okay.
In the case of the freedom caller, it kind of puts you on a pedestal, meaning you've got somebody who's calling on your behalf, which, if worded correctly, and I'm sure it is with knowing Kenneth the way he does things, that it actually puts you in a little bit of a celebrity status, a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So when you show up, you don't have any, or they don't have any preconceived notions. You can literally show up and be whoever you want to be,
right?
Without the constant disappointment of having to hear no, 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 no for every one yes. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I would say that first and foremost. I also think that you are missing a great opportunity if you're not connecting with your sphere of influence and asking them for introductions to realtors, financial planners, CPAs, and attorneys. If you're not so let me give you a little bit of insight to how I viewed my business for many, many years. So if you take a table and you take the 4 legs and you take the legs away and you put one leg underneath it to balance it, that leg not only has to be in the middle, perfectly centered, but it also has to be a very large, thick, round leg in order for it to withstand any weight that you put on the corners, correct?
Correct.
If you add another leg, then those 2 legs together can share the weight, so neither of the legs have to be super strong independently, they just have to be equal.
Right.
And as you add 2 more legs, the balance becomes, the table becomes extremely balanced. And that's kind of how I've always viewed my business, Bobby. I believe that your business needs to have 4 pillars in which it generates business from. Because at any given point in time, 1, 2, or 3 of those pillars may throw you a lead or a referral or business that you never counted on, and it offsets any business that you're not getting from the 4th and final leg. So in my world, it was my past clients were a huge pillar. My current clients were also a pillar. And then I had my realtors. And then I also had my affiliated relationships. So I chose my 4 business pillars to be my past clients, my current clients, my realtors, and my affiliated relationships. Affiliated relationships are people that I had business dealings with that consistently referred me business. I had a connector relationship with about 50 businesses and people that I got business from that I was constantly referring out for whatever services my clients needed. My 5 to 6 realtors, and then my current clients and my past clients. And each of them represented a strategy that I analyzed every year and determined where I needed to strengthen and where I needed to get more business from based on my goals. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So in your particular case, if we're focusing purely on your realtors, you're living and breathing by the real estate market, and I'm telling you right now that you're missing out on a tremendous opportunity if you're not building business with your affiliated relationships, some of the professions that I just mentioned, and being very, very cognizant of what your current clients offer as well. And you may not have that momentum yet, but we'll get there, and I'll teach you, the appropriate ways to leverage it. So back to the Freedom Caller thing, I think much the same way that you have business opportunities through the Freedom Caller, I think you also need to create your own. And so I would advise you strongly would be to take the message that we're working on, and I would go out there and seek introductions from people that already know you, like you, and trust you, introducing them to the people that they know, like, and trust. I'm willing to bet you if you called 15 to 20 of the people that you consider friends, that each of them knows a CPA, each of them knows an attorney, each of them knows a financial planner, and each of them knows a realtor. And if they don't, I'm willing to bet you by the time you get done making those calls, you have come up with a list of attorneys, financial planners, financial planners, CPAs, and realtors that for any client that you called or friend that you called beforehand, and you ask them if they didn't have one, would you like a good recommendation to somebody? You then might be able to start referring, cross-referring business relationships to other people that you know and coming to meet. Imagine coming to meet a financial planner going, listen, I'm building up a business. This is how I'm doing it. This is my why. This is how I do it. And this is what I do. By the way, I've got 5 people that are in my sphere of influence when I started making these calls that don't have financial planners, and I would love to learn about your business to see if it might be something that I would be able to refer out. Would you be interested in talking to me about building a partnership and how we might be able to amplify our relationships together? Jesus, Bobby, you could kill it.
Yeah.
So the Freedom Caller is good in that respect, but you're missing a huge opportunity to connect with the people that already know you, like you, and trust you, and asking them for introductions to people that they know, like, and trust. There's the triangle of trust that I mentioned. There it is. There it is in its rawest form.
Right.
And you're not asking
and it's a
for
warm
somebody,
call as opposed to a cold call too.
and you already have something in common, which is somebody else.
Right. Yeah.
You and I could start a conversation up talking about Ken Travis for the next 2 days, and you and I would have a great relationship because we have the same person that we know. And because I know him and he likes me and I like him and you like him and you know him, we automatically share a commonality that makes us a lot more likely to be like-minded and connect.
Right. Right. All right. Well, that gives me.
What do you think?
No, it makes sense. It gives me a couple action items on my part that I need to dive into.
Okay. Tell me what they are.
First thing is I need to have a conversation with Danielle and just kind of get a sense of, what she's saying when she's calling on these people, so I at least have an idea, because right now I have no idea. And then secondly, I need to, put together my list, if you will, based on what you just said, and start making calls on, from my standpoint.
Yeah, and I think her calling those people would be a bad idea.
No, I totally agree. Yeah.
I think if you picked up the phone and made a commitment to yourself that I'm going to call, and let's be clear about this. I don't want you to call everybody that you know on Facebook. That's not what I'm asking. Listen to the request very closely, because the detail is what's really important. Get a hold of the people that you care about. You probably have 5 to 20 people in your life that you consider to be people that you care about. And if you open up the dialogue by telling them exactly what you've told me, that you're in the business, I mean, really just be vulnerable and tell them why you're back in the business and why you think it's the right decision and why you're at the company and why you're doing this. And then when that conversation takes you down that path, you can ask them for help. Hey, Bob, you know what? It's been a long time, or whatever the case is. Well, thank you, Branson call. I was wondering if I could get your help with something. So I'm working in a business, or I'm working with a company now and a coach that really made me realize how valuable my relationships are with the people that I care about, and I consider you to be somebody I care about. I know, right? Don't get too sentimental on me. What I'm hoping we could do on this, what I'm hoping I could do for you is just ask you a couple of questions, and maybe you can give me some advice. I'm looking for a couple people that I might be able to connect with. And before I ask you that, let me tell you a little bit about why I'm doing this. And long story short, I'm a relationship amplifier. I've learned and I now understand why I do things the way that I do them. And my goal is to work with people that already know me, like me, and trust me, because I honestly believe that the work that I do, I think it will actually strengthen our relationship. And what I'm looking for is, do you and your wife currently have a financial planner that you guys work with? Or do you have an attorney? Or who does your taxes? And I know everybody knows a realtor, but it's amazing. When I'm looking for one that's quality, I can't find them. So is there a realtor that you know of that you think is, somewhat decent, that's been in the business for a little bit, and you think I might be able to get some contact information for? You could literally have 5 conversations like that a day, buddy, and walk away with 3 or 4 names and phone numbers to people that you literally can call. You do that with 20 people, you'll end up with 80 names and phone numbers, and up to 80 names and phone numbers, and think about all the cross-referencing you can give.
Mm-hmm.
That is expanding your brand and not just relying on realtors.
Right.
And I had great success with it. One of the clients that I met with, I never ended up doing a mortgage for, and it's so weird how this universe works. Remember how I talked about reciprocity, and you'd be amazed on at the corners of the world where your business comes from when you just show up to give value. Mm-hmm. So I had this client who comes to see me. Him and his dad were painters. They wanted to buy a house. Met with him 2 or 3 times. But the first time I met him, I said, you know what? Before we go any farther, I noticed you guys, your tax returns are, they're kind of like disheveled a little bit. Like I don't understand how you're a CPA. Also, it wasn't a CPA. A friend of ours is a bookkeeper, and yeah, we're struggling with this. I'm like, oh, really? Okay. Well, do you know of a good CPA? And you're like, that's funny you should mention that. My dad and I just met with this lady last week. She was referred to us by so-and-so, and we had a great meeting. I said, no kidding. Do you think I might be able to get her name and number? Because I'm always looking for really good professionals that I could refer my clients to. Sure. Her name's Terry Singer. Long story short, I go meet Terry, have a face-to-face. At the end of the meeting, we come to the agreement that it doesn't look like our businesses are going to work well together. She does mostly corporate returns. She doesn't really do individuals. And so that conversation came up because I started the conversation with, the want versus need. And mm-hmm. I want to work with you, I just don't need you, and it's okay if we decide that it isn't going to be a good fit. Remember how we talked about that?
Right, yes.
So it ended with, I don't think this is going to be a good fit, and she agreed. And then she leans over and says, but I got to tell you something. I may be able to help you out still. And I said, well, how's that? And I'm thinking she's going to be able to refer me another name of an attorney, a CPA. She goes, I have a side business. I do divorce strategies. I said, what do you mean divorce strategies? She goes, well, I have relationships with about a dozen or so divorce attorneys in the area, and they refer me all their women clients who are trying to figure out how much alimony and child support to ask for. I said, okay. She goes, they come and meet with me. I create a budget. I create an economic reality, and we use this process to put into the divorce petition so that the ladies can figure out what they're going to need to ask for. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
So I was able to create a relationship with her and was able to, I did a lot of loans for a lot of newly divorced women who needed either to refinance the house, buy a house, and every single one of them, for the most part, great credit, assets, 20% down. I mean, it was retarded, but I didn't get it from the CPA business. It came because I showed up with value. I came clear with what I was and what I wasn't, And when our relationship turned to become what it is, I still look back at it and go, that's an example of what's possible when you get out there and just start knocking on doors and show yourself for who you really are. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
That's inspiring to me.
Yeah,
Because
no,
Terry's she's a great lady, but I've never done one of her clients on the CPA side mortgage. I've always done mortgages for the divorce strategies business.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was single, it wasn't a bad gig to meet single ladies either.
Shame on you.
It only happened once, just once, and
playing on their emotions like that.
It wasn't my fault. I was a victim.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're all victims, aren't we?
We are all victims, but that only happened once, and honestly, it worked out for the best because she's a great lady. She's been remarried. I mean, it's just not to the point where it was manipulative. It was just one of those where I'm like, wow, I got to meet a lot of single women, but there's only one that actually really kind of aggressively pursued me. So it was an interesting dialogue. So, but the point of the story is that, I mean, I want you to not really lean on one pillar. I want you to look at your business like it has 4 legs. Each of your legs represents a pillar in which you're going to get business from. And if you're hoping to close 6 loans a month, there's a chance that you might get 3 from your realtors and 1 from each of the other pillars. Well, if you break it down that way, it's really easy to focus on trying to get 1 referral from your past clients. It's really easy to focus on getting 1 referral from your current clients. It's really easy to focus on getting 1 referral from your affiliated relationships. And it's probably really easy to get 3 referrals from your from your realtor base.
Mm-hmm.
When you break it down into those arenas and you start looking at the strategies that require you to get business in each of those, God, you're not stuck dealing with realtors. I mean, to me, the idea of banking my life on a realtor is the most insane decision anybody could ever possibly make.
Mm-hmm.
But focusing on financial planners, man, I love them. And attorneys and CPAs, those are professionals. Past clients, man, these people I consider friends. Current clients, these are people that have already entrusted in me, and I can make them the most referable. I can make myself the most referable person if I just make sure I ask. God, it truly is eye-opening when you recognize that you're not limited to just one pillar of business. So as Danielle starts making her calls to those realtors, that's a great tool. But please make a commitment to me that between now and next Wednesday, you'll pick up the phone and call 20 people, 5 a day. Call 20 people and ask them, tell them why you're calling them, tell them why you're doing the business the way you are. Practice your script, practice your presentation, practice your unique selling proposition. And then get into, I could use some help. And what I'm looking for is, I'm looking for a name and a phone number. And you can get into the conversation. I mean, oh my God, you could have 5 amazing conversations over the next week and get a huge amount of opportunities out of it by having conversations with people that you already like and that they like you. Good God. Bobby, you could pick up the phone and talk to these people tomorrow, and you could have probably an hour-long conversation with each of them.
Yep. You're right. Well, and I'm listening to a book by, oh crap, I keep forgetting his last name. Jeb. I can't remember. Jeb Blunt. He's actually out of Atlanta, the Atlanta area. He's got a book out that I've got on Audible that's called Fanatical Prospecting, and have you heard it or read it?
I have not.
Okay, well anyway, it's not specific to any business, any type of business. It's or our business per se. It's just basically he just goes through all of the mindsets that we all come up with when it comes to picking up the phone and making the phone calls, and how we all struggle and all that, and just trying to kind of work the mindset so that you don't have those issues quite as much or whatever. And then he's also got good ideas in terms of he talks about the power hour and how time blocking and all that stuff that everybody's talking about or has talked about over the years. But it all makes sense, and it's just good for me to hear that kind of stuff or whatever, listen to it and learn from it in addition to what you and I are doing. I try to read and just kind of read those kind of books or listen to that kind of information.
What do you think about how what we're talking about parallels with what he's saying?
Oh, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, here's the thing. He's giving me reasons why I should call, or better yet, here's what he's doing is he is what's the word I'm looking for? He is reinforcing basically the facts of why you're not calling,
Right.
or why you don't call,
Yep.
and the reason you should call, and how easy it really can be, like an hour or two a day, and how many phone calls you really can make in that time frame. So he's doing that, and then leveraging what we're doing just kind of helps put it in perspective and gives me reason to call and how to have the conversation, or at least how to try to structure the conversations.
Right. But again, you've got to be convicted in your heart and in your mind in order for that to make sense.
Convicted is the word I was looking for, yeah.
You have to be.
Yeah.
And that's why the call over the last 2 weeks has been so important, because everything we're going to talk about moving forward is going to be predicated on the fact that, are you convinced that you're a person of value? Are you convinced that you are a referable person? Are you convinced that when you pick up the phone, it's not about serving yourself, it's about serving others? Unless you're convicted at it, and unless you understand it through and through and believe that when you pick up the phone, people are truly better to have talked to you today, and you do it in such a way that becomes so conversational, you're gonna really, really see how people are going to be attracted to you. You don't have to sell yourself to people when you come in from that mindset. You come in from the position of want to help people. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's why it's so meaningful.
Right. Right. Well, and I also see what you're doing too. You snuck in a parameter that you said a week or two ago that we're going to start looking at, and now you snuck in a parameter to see where it goes.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, you had talked about we would over time, or over the course of the next several weeks, we would start working through the numbers and be accountable. So now you've given me a task of calling 20 people, which is basically just a sly way of moving me to the numbers that we're going to track and keep up with over the course of time, I guess. At least that's the way I see it anyway. So you're slick, but I caught you,
And here's the reality. This isn't slick. This isn't even a manipulation. What this is what you're feeling is it's the natural progression of, unless you start practicing what it is that we're working on, the theories and concepts mean nothing unless you're using them religiously.
Absolutely. Yeah, no,
the consistency, and you use this in the very beginning, the consistency part of it. The consistency in what we're talking about, Bobby, how many friends do you call and talk to? I mean, do you have people in your life you consider friends?
Yeah.
Do you ever hesitate to pick up the phone and want to talk to them?
No, absolutely not.
Do you ever feel like there's nothing to talk about?
No. There's always something to talk about.
So why in the hell are we so apprehensive of picking up the phone and trying to have a relationship with somebody else? And the only reason we have that apprehension is because we think it's about business. That's what it's not.
Yeah, yeah. Or it's, part of it too. I mean, for me, it's not, the business part of it doesn't really concern me, or not that concern's not the right word, but I think it really is, it's just, for me, it's probably a matter of how I will be perceived initially, and do I really have something to, to talk about? I mean, yeah, I have something to talk about, but is it relevant? Is it going to, help solidify or start a relationship? That kind of stuff.
Right.
And that's just my mindset. It's just something I have to, I have to force myself, and I would say that I have to force myself when I'm talking to someone. Well, let's put it this way: if I'm standing next to you in line somewhere, or we're at an event or whatever, I have no problem starting a conversation. Finding something to at least
Sure.
get someone to talk. But when
Sure.
I'm on the end of the phone, and I don't see that person, or you know what I'm saying? It's just, for me, it's harder to strike that up and to build that, as opposed to a stranger. I mean, my wife said, she said one of the reasons she one of the things that attracted her to me is that because she's kind of shy, and doesn't always, even though she's better now, but had an issue just talking to people, even the ones standing next to her or something.
Yep.
But she always said that I could talk to anybody.
Yep.
And I can talk to anybody, but the caveat is I'm not as good on the phone as I am in person. If I don't have at least an initial conversation and or
Right.
meeting with
Right.
prior.
Right. That's why Danielle is going to be good for you, and that's why I think the two things we talked about today: calling your network of people you care about, and then the second one was doing follow-up calls with people you've already met with.
Right. Yep.
I honestly believe that if you look at a light switch, it's simple. It's on and off, right? Light comes on, light comes
Yep.
off, light comes on, light comes off. Everything that you talk about up until the point where they say thank you should not be about making it so that you get a lead or a loan or an opportunity.
Right.
That's not what it is. The moment they say thank you is the moment the light switch comes on. The moment they acknowledge your efforts, that's when the light switch comes on. That's when you go from being Bobby to the originator Bobby. Because the originator Bobby capitalizes on the moments that people acknowledge what they do and realize that you're only able to do this for people because you're meeting your financial needs. And by asking them for help in return, you're equalizing the balance in the relationship, because you've done something for them, they've acknowledged it, and you're going to basically tell them how they can bring the balance back to the relationship. And it's because you want to help them amplify a relationship with somebody else, which again furthers the cause of what you've started the entire relationship with.
Yeah, I think one of the things I need to probably do is on those initial calls, in initial meetings, I should say, that I had prior to you and I working together, is I need to, I don't want to say I want to script it, because I'm not good at a script. I mean, but I at least need to think through how to, at least some key points or whatever, to basically go back to these people and try to rebuild the value that I was hoping to bring to the table, and in so many words explain or discuss or convey to them that, hey, it's not about the business you can bring. I mean, ultimately it is, but I mean, it's not why I'm calling you. I'm not calling you every week because I'm looking for a loan, or I'm looking for a lead or a deal or whatever. I just feel like I need to go back to those people and maybe re-explain myself, is maybe a better way of putting it.
100%, with 100% agreement. Your role in this, you're not a loan officer, brother. That's not why you're calling these people.
Yeah.
Much the same way that I look at money. Money is a result. Money is not a goal. Money is a result. Money is a result of you pursuing your goal.
Right.
And if your goal truly is to help people, then the law of reciprocity kicks in at the highest level. Because what you need to be helped, what helps you is money. But what you do to people is you help them with whatever their needs are.
Right.
And believe it or not, every time you help somebody, it ends up changing their result, which ultimately might be money. It might be time, it might be freedom, it might be balance, it might be joy. I mean, whatever the case is.
Mm-hmm.
But again, your result is not what your why is.
Right.
Your why is to show up and be a relationship amplifier to help people improve their business or to improve their life or to be able to create balance. And by the knowledge you have or the relationships that you have with me and with Kenneth and the rest of the corporation and the people you know, God, brother, you are a relationship amplifier with no connections.
Right.
Like you're sitting here, you're like one of those novelty balls that when you light it up, you touch the outside of the ball and the lightning or the light comes to your fingertips. You've seen those in like science labs?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're sitting there with this ball of energy with no fingertips on your glass.
Mm-hmm.
You're wasting the gift that I believe that God has given you by remaining in this position to where you don't talk to enough people. You don't believe in your heart yet that your beauty is your ability to go out there and connect with people and amplify their relationships by helping their business and helping the people that they know.
Yeah, it's a different mindset, and that's what this is obviously helping me change that mindset.
Is it really? Is this really?
Yeah,
I mean, is the value that good?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, it is. It's definitely making helping me, helping me make that change.
Good.
Hey, are we the only ones on the call today? I hadn't heard anyone else.
Yep. No, it's just you and me. This is an example of the difference between the people that will be successful versus the people that won't be.
Uh-huh. I was just curious.
Nope. And it used to bother me because I felt like, I want this as bad as you do. Why don't you want it as bad as I do?
Mm-hmm.
And I just realized, truth is, not everybody gets it.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe this does impact people, maybe it doesn't. I have a handful of people that have made tremendous changes in their business and really have seen tremendous growth.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the message that I have isn't for everybody.
Right.
And if they choose not to show up, they don't choose to show up. But if I can help you out, that's the part of it that I love. I mean, I'm helping you.
Mm-hmm.
If nobody else shows up, guess what? We started with just you and I. I don't have a problem ending with just you and I.
Right.
Does that make you? How does that make you feel? The fact that you're the only one on the call.
Well, I mean, obviously, I get to just have a conversation between me and you. Which
Good.
I mean, I don't have a problem opening up with other people. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I think for me, maybe I'm being selfish. I don't know, but I mean, I'd rather have it this way. But it is what it is.
Perfect. I would rather have it too. So this will be, I'll open it up to next week's class, and then after that I'm locking it down, and then it'll just be you and I.
Okay. All right.
But that's it. That's my soapbox for the day.
All right, man. Well,
anything else going on in your life?
Oh, yeah, we've got friends of ours from Atlanta, 3 couples coming over this weekend, and my wife she's teaching, and she's only been, I shouldn't say only been, I mean, she's teaching, this is her 5th year, and she's just struggling a little bit because of all the paperwork and trying to keep up, and, it's not one of those jobs you just leave at home or leave at work and come home, and
My mom was a teacher for 37. My mom was a teacher for 37 years in Detroit. My ex-wife was a teacher. So I live and breathe it, buddy. Yep,
yeah,
I know exactly what it means to be a teacher.
She just, I don't know, she has her good days and her bad, but she's just struggling because of the, there's not enough time for her to do what she wants, or to do what she thinks we need to do, and, so we're burning the candle at both ends this week, both running a little ragged, but, other than that.
Right.
So, and I've got a little more freedom, to do things for her than she's able to do. So I
Right.
kind of carry the weight a little bit. But anyway,
Nope, totally understand.
it's all good. Yeah.
It is, buddy. It is.
So.
Well, you're a good man for it, buddy. I appreciate it. I appreciate knowing you. I've really enjoyed our time.
Well, I appreciate you taking the time. It's helped.
Good, buddy. Good.
So.
Hey, have you had any more conversations with Kenneth?
No, Kenneth has been kind of hard to get in touch with. He's like, I think he's in Atlanta today. They had a
one-day event or something?
Yeah, and I think they did, and and then I guess I don't know what else he's got going on, but he's been kind of tough to get in touch with. I haven't talked to him probably in a couple of weeks, and I know
Really?
he hadn't been on our morning calls, at least the way he was initially, or at least
Right.
since I've come on board. So anyway.
Got it.
But
yeah, I think from what I understand, I think most of those guys are down there in Duluth or something, Georgia.
yeah, they're that's actually north of Atlanta.
Got it.
Yeah. So I mean, I was I wanted to go. I had not been to one, but then I figured, you know what? I mean, I've kind of heard most of the stuff, and I'm not
Right.
saying I'm not, but I just felt like it wasn't a good use of my time, nor did I have the time, especially this week.
Right. Right.
To do it. So I just I may try it. I think they're going to do one in Birmingham next month, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if they're going to do that
Okay.
and the conference or whatever, but
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work.
yeah, if not, I may go to one.
Okay.
Scotty says I need to go to the 3-day, not the 1-day, so I may just wait for the next 3-day event.
Yeah, the 3-day events are pretty powerful. You'll love it. You'll
Right.
love it. Awesome, brother. Well, hey, listen, make it a great afternoon. Enjoy the weekend with your friends, and I look forward to circling around with you next week. Please, 20 names, 20 calls. Yep. I want to see what happens.
All right, we'll do it.
All right, buddy. Talk to you next week.
All right. Okay.